Hello, can y'all hear me? I just need a thumbs up before we get going over here. Once we get the thumbs up, we can dive right back into it. Sorry, I forgot to switch, so it was still saying that the game was Spider-Man, and this is not Spider-Man. So I had to do a quick restart to fix that. Happy Monday, friends! Ate some food, have my water, all that good stuff. Just checking to make sure y'all can hear me. Okay, beautiful. Y'all can hear me, my mic is working, which means we are good to dive into this. For anyone who doesn't know, this is Our Life Beginnings and Always, and we are hanging out with our dude here, Cove Holden. He is the definition of a soft boy. He is a beach boy. He just likes to hang out and do all of the beachy things and have all of the beachy things. And he's really fucking sweet. And so we are growing up alongside him. He is our next door neighbor. We are in step 2 now, so if you want to catch up to where we're currently at, you gotta go watch the other parts. And today, let's see, we're starting with road trip. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Got my water because all the reading I'm about to do is going to be hell on my vocal cords. It's fine. Let's hop on in, shall we? Even though you were awake, the sun had barely peeked its head above the horizon, and the sky above was still dark, though lightening by the minute. Usually, you wouldn't be up so early, especially during summer vacation, but today was different. Today, instead of the lazy days you were used to, everything around you was a flurry of activity as both your family and Cove's prepared for what lay ahead. Because parked in the street just outside your house was a massive RV camper, so big you couldn't even see Cove's house behind it. His parents had rented the RV for a few days to take him on a short road trip to see the Redwood National Park. You glanced at Cove, who was standing nearby taking in the scene in front of him. The prospect of the trip had to be a mixed bag for him, but it was only 3 days, so it seemed he was dealing with it as best he could, especially now that you and your family were joining them. You weren't sure how exactly it happened. You knew your parents and Cove spoke to each other often, and somewhere along the way, plans were made after Cliff offered to share the space. The parents all thought it was a fantastic idea. You had already gotten a good look inside while helping to load everything in, and you had to admit that while it was a really big car, fitting that many people inside was going to be snug. Move it or lose it, kiddo. Mom bustled past with a cooler in one hand and a large bottle of water under the other. She was upbeat for this early in the morning. Ma, however, seemed to be on the other side of the wavelength. She followed behind her wife, dragging her feet on every step. I'm going to need a whole jug of coffee once we hit the road. Yeah, I'm definitely with Ma on this one. I'm not a morning person. To relate to Ma, it was way too early. You yawned and rubbed at your eyes, still sleepy from the early morning wake-up call. The air outside was still damp from dew, and that helped to make you a bit more alert. And then, at the end of the chain, came your sister. She had a bone to pick before the trip officially started. Her rattling off critiques added some level of normalcy to everything new going on. I don't get why I can't sleep in the bed tonight. Blake is the youngest, and I'll never fall asleep in that loft. We're trying to make things fair on everyone. If you want to play the older card, you should be offering to take the loft both nights. It's important for big siblings to make sacrifices for their younger ones. Elizabeth huffed, not happy with that answer in the slightest, and folded her arms, leaning back against the side of the RV. The trip plans had been nailed down prior, the sleeping arrangements included. Elizabeth still held on to her objections with them. Who's surprised? Not me. Elizabeth has beef with everything and everybody. There was a main area of the RV with a couch, loft, and some floor space. At the end of the car was a room with a large bed. Your moms were sharing the bed, Kyra was on the couch, and father and son intended to sleep on the floor. The adults determined you and Elizabeth would switch between the small loft above the driver's seat and sharing the bed with moms. Yeah, it is kind of unfair that Cove has to sleep on the floor. Just saying. After all, it was supposed to be a trip for him and his family before yours ended up coming along too. Now he had been kicked out of every bed-like space and put on the floor. There had to be another way to organize things so it was better for him. I don't know, offer to sleep somewhere else? I could sleep on the floor or wherever for one night so Cove could have a turn in the loft instead. You announced your idea to the group, and everyone paused from what they were doing to consider it. Cove was taken aback by the consideration, like he hadn't thought about how he had clearly gotten the short end of the stick. There's no way you'd be sleeping in the back while I'm with moms. There's barely enough room for 3, we can't add a 4th. Then I can be on the floor for a night, and he'll be on the floor for one night when Elizabeth is in the loft. No can do, Blake, sorry. The 3 of us all together down there is bonding time. Cliff put one arm around Kyra's shoulders and the other around Cove, dragging them both into him. They smiled at his little show. Hi, friend, how you doing? I'm afraid we can't extend you an invite. You simply have to take the loft. Cove and his mom both shook their heads at Mr. Holden, and you had to agree that it was a pretty weak excuse as far as excuses go. They were just being hospitable to your family. Thanks, Blake. It's all right. I can take the floor for 2 nights. And that settled the matter for good. All right, you lot. Does everyone have everything they need? We're heading out in 5 minutes. Now's the time to double check. You don't want to forget something important. At the word, Elizabeth yelped and dashed back into the house, her bedhead hair bouncing behind her as she went. Ma came over and gave you a smile, setting her hands on her hips. How about you, Blake? Do you have all your clothes packed? Toiletries, deodorant, floss, anything else you can think of? I'm confident I have it all. Wanting to make sure everything was organized and ready to go, you had packed the night before and set your alarm too. Yep, I'm good. That's great. We'll have to wait for the ones who weren't as organized, but we'll be heading off shortly. With a few minutes left to spare before leaving, you mentally went over what you had packed for the trip. Clothes, a pillow and blanket, usual day-to-day gear for most people. You also had more personal things, such as Oh, I love this. Definitely the gaming console. The drive to the Redwood National Park would take an entire day one way, so you wanted to make sure you had a way to entertain yourself while traveling there and back. An MP3 player with headphones, 1000% music. With so much time going to be spent driving in a car, you wanted to make sure you'd be able to have some music to put on. Not the makeup for me personally, not a big camera person. You know what? Couple of things to read too, I think. You had packed one of your old favorites and a new one you'd never tried before. You knew you'd have plenty of time for them both on such a long drive. And I think that's everything. Hey, let me take that for you, Blake. I'll stow it in the RV. There's a few spots left it'll fit. You let Kyra take your bag and gave her a grateful smile. With nothing left to do, you watched the others getting ready for the trip. Kyra and Cliff seemed to have the most energy of anyone. They were finishing packing the suitcases away while your moms had gone to lock up the house. They high-fived whenever another one got crammed into the storage compartments of the vehicle. Even though your own parents were more low-key than Cove's, you could tell they were both excited for the trip. It had been a while since your family had been away anywhere together. Elizabeth skipped towards the RV, a bag slung over her shoulder, and you were surprised to see she seemed more optimistic about the whole ordeal now. Usually, she wasn't one to exit the confines of her room unless it was for TV or food or to leave her family behind to be with friends. You would have thought 3 whole days packed in an RV with 6 others would be too much for her, but it was a nice surprise. You supposed any vacation was better than no vacation in her mind. Cove had been pretty quiet so far, and, more than anything, seemed to be overwhelmed by the situation. I feel like probably eager to get there would be my... 'cause sounds cool. Sounds fun. Water break because thirsty. Yeah, eager to get to the destination. You'd been looking up the park online and couldn't wait to explore everything it had to offer. Soon, the miscellaneous remaining tasks had all been wrapped up. Everyone piled into the RV. It was officially time for the trip to start. And it did. Cliff took first shift driving. He cautiously navigated the massive car out of the narrow neighborhood streets. It was touch and go for the first part of the journey. Your moms and Kyra were all huddled at the front, trying to get a view of how much space they had on each side. There was a sense of relief when the first long leg of the trip was hit, and the RV would only need to go down one stretch of highway for miles. The mom group cleared out of the driver's area, leaving Cove's dad to it, taking more comfortable seats around the main cabin. You felt like you could finally relax now, too. Time slipped by as morning faded away. Before you realized it, the engine of the RV came to a stop, but only halted for a few moments as Cliff climbed out of the driver's seat and Mom took over. Ma was sitting shotgun, giving Mom a quick tutorial on the controls as it was her first time driving anything this large. Cliff groaned as he headed towards the rest of you, stretching his arms above his head and loosening up his muscles. We're making good progress. Yeah, maybe you should take a nap in the back for a while. That was a long haul you just did, and I know you're on less sleep than usual. Cliff waved a hand, the trademark grin on his slipping into place. I don't need sleep. I've still got a few miles in the old tank. He flexed an arm, showing off his muscles to drive the point about how resilient he was home, and Kyra rolled her eyes in amusement. Dad, everybody has to sleep. Cove shook his head at the tough guy act, though Cliff simply chuckled and ruffled his son's hair. Are you going to be driving again anytime soon, Mr. Holden? I want to know so I can prepare. Did anyone pack some rope? I might need it. There's no seatbelts up here. Elizabeth called down from where she was, lounging in the loft above the driving compartment. She was laying on her back, her hair falling over the side and swinging around as the RV started up again and took off down the road. A bag of potato chips was balanced on Elizabeth's stomach, and she tossed a couple in her mouth right as Cliff held a hand to his chest, pretending to be offended by the remark. Kyra laughed lightheartedly. Lucky for all of us, we have enough adults to cover the shifts today. He won't be driving again until tomorrow. Just enough time to write up my last will and testament. Yeah, I'm joining in on this. Not you too. The rest of the group laughed while Cliff pouted, and you gave him an apologetic shrug. Mom then shouted back in her seat to join in the conversation, a playful smile tilting her lips. What I'm more worried about is this old monster getting us there and back again before falling apart. It looks as though it was built in the early 90s. Must be older than some of the occupants. That's just the aesthetic of the decor. It's not that old, I think. Did you ask what year the model was before you rented it? Kyra wrinkled her nose in thought. Yes, I did. I just can't remember what the answer was. Oh no! How are you gonna ask that and then forget? Like, doesn't that defeat the point? Cliff chuckled at her while the rest of you let out a collective sigh. The RV lurched a little as it picked up speed, and you held onto the ladder to the loft to keep your balance. You felt something graze the top of your head before a weight settled on your blue hair. When you tilted your chin up carefully to look, you heard the rustling of the bag of chips and realized Elizabeth had rested the end of it on your head. She gestured to the opening, silently offering to share her snack. Sure, why not? I like chips. Reaching up, you scooped up some chips. After that, the weight of the packet left your scalp. You happily munched away as the conversation continued on, and you got closer and closer to your destination. The day flew by, with the group of you chatting, playing games, and passing the time together before finally arriving at the park and setting up for the night. Ma was closing the windows while everyone got ready for bed, saying goodnight to the others as she made her way to the back room. You had all had dinner together while still driving, and some hours after had arrived at your destination and found a spot to park for the rest of your stay. Giving a look across the front of the RV, you noticed almost everyone there was already dozing off where they were, with Cove having completely fallen asleep curled up in the passenger seat. He must have done so while Kyra was driving the last leg, and they had decided not to disturb him. Kyra herself was the only one up there who was still awake, flipping through a magazine next to a portable light from her spot on the couch. It seemed Mr. Holden needed to sleep despite his claims. You followed your moms to the back room and closed the door behind you before crawling onto the bed between them. It was a queen-sized bed, so there was enough space for the three of you together without too much squishing. Get a good rest, Blake. We've got a big day ahead of us tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the bush walk in the morning. It's been a long time since I was out in nature like this. There will be plenty for us to see. You stayed awake for a little while longer while your moms whispered about the park and forests in general. With the sound of their voices in the background, eventually you nodded off to sleep. Yeah, so it seems like Ma is much more outdoorsy, likes to be out. Like, I know it was her surfboard we used when we went surfing with Cove. Yeah, she just seems like the outdoorsy one between the two of them. Okay. Dry mouth all the time. I give up. It's so pretty. The next morning, you were up bright and early, preparing for the day ahead. You slept well. You fell asleep before you knew it and had woken up rested. Ma whined a bit about the firmness of the mattress, but Mom had only encouraged her to enjoy the trip while she could. While looking for a spot to get ready, you had some trouble finding a space of your own as the others were doing the same thing. Cove was perched on top of the counter, brushing his hair and tucking up his legs every time someone wanted to move past. The parents were checking, double-checking, and triple-checking that you had everything, to the point where you had stopped listening to them altogether. You knew you wouldn't be returning to the RV at all that day, but by the look of the backpacks that were packed up and ready to go, you doubted anything was missing from them. It didn't take much longer until you all exited the RV in a bustle and headed into the Redwood National Park. Wow. Cove had his head tilted up towards the canopy of trees, his eyes wide as he took in the massive trunks on either side of you. You knew that the redwood trees here were considered the tallest trees on Earth, but you weren't prepared for exactly how huge they would be in person. Smile, you two! You spun just in time for Kyra to snap a picture of you and Cove together, before she pointed her camera at Cliff, trying to get a shot despite his weak protests that she should just enjoy the moment. Your parents were walking behind the group a little, with Mom telling Ma some information she had read about the park in a brochure. Ma listened happily while looking around and taking in the sights, every now and then asking a question or making a joke about something Mom had said. You smiled at them, thinking your mom must have read a lot of pamphlets to know so much about the park. Maybe you should come and work here as a tour guide if you know so much about the place. Elizabeth teased, earning a squeeze on the nose from your mom. She seemed to be enjoying herself, but you thought that might just be because she was amused by everyone else's reactions. I mean, if the trees are really that big, I feel like I would be in awe of them, because goddamn, big-ass trees. Surrounding you on either side, the enormous trees shot up into the sky, the sunlight peeking through their canopy and speckling the path in front of you. The sheer size of the redwoods made you feel like a tiny ant bustling along through the forest. The adults had decided on some casual nature walks rather than any serious hiking, and you strolled along at your own pace, taking in the scenery. Elizabeth sped up a little, smirking at Cove as she fell into place between the two of you, and immediately you could tell by her expression she was going to say something taunting. Oh boy, here we go. What now, Elizabeth? I can't believe our families are actually on vacation together. She threw her arms out, speaking with a genuine sense of bewilderment. I would have joked about something like this happening, but now I'm not sure I want to give them any more ideas. Cove smiled at her, even if it was a little awkwardly, and continued walking along. Just watch, next year they'll be talking about their next new amazing idea. She put on a fake voice deeper than her own. We should just sell both our houses and move in together, think of how much we'd save on the mortgage." It was clear that Elizabeth was being sarcastic. Cove simply shook his head, not really bothered by her. You supposed he was used to it by this point. "But seriously, they really do act like we're a single family, just because we live across the street from each other." "Hi, River, what's up?" Elizabeth gave you and Cove a look, her eyes glinting with mischief as she leered at you. "Maybe one day we will be related, legally anyway." She said it as though she was a gossipy old lady. But she almost immediately dropped the tone and nonchalantly said her real thoughts. "At least that's what Ma thinks." Cove still blushed, which made Elizabeth smile triumphantly, as though that was her whole purpose for teasing him. Then he mumbled quietly, refusing to make eye contact with either of you. "I don't know why you think you're so funny when no one else does." "Yeah, tell her to cut it out. They're friends. Leave them the fuck alone. Hi, Jordan. What's up?" "Happy to have you here, friend." "Yeah, Elizabeth, can you do me a favor and just cut the shit? Like, you're really out here teasing me for having a friend. Like, how is that a flex? Being like, oh no, you have a friend, meh 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 meh." I think that Elizabeth is just fucking bitter, and poor Cove. Yeah, cut it out already, Elizabeth. It's not fucking funny. You don't need to ruin the day with that. "Oh, I thought you would be happy someone put the idea in Cove's head." Oh dear God, she just doesn't stop. "I don't think he's making plans about marrying anyone right now." Elizabeth made a smug face, saying in a sing-song voice, "I wouldn't be so sure about that." Cove frowned and reddened harder, but pretended to ignore what she was saying. Look at my poor boy. My poor boy is, like, gonna combust. Elizabeth, leave him the fuck alone. The day continued on with plenty to see and experience. You passed a few different activities that you would have liked to try out if you had the time, such as kayaking and rock climbing, but Ma said that would have to wait for another trip. There was a little stream during the walk that you'd sat beside and set out a picnic for lunch, nibbling on a selection of fruit, sandwiches, and chips. Various birds flew overhead, and you made a game out of guessing the species that were hanging out in the trees nearby. You even managed to get a couple of them right, including the kingfisher that grabbed half of Cliff's sandwich. Oh no, not the bird thief. You were glad you got to do this in the end, 1000%. It was definitely a special experience, and one you'd remember for a long time to come. You smiled to yourself, committing the sights and sounds to memory. Your group made it back to camp just as the sun was setting in the sky, and the stars were appearing, one by one. I love the fucking art in this game. Genuinely, the art is so fucking gorgeous. Like, all of it's so pretty. Hold on. Look at that sky. Look at those clouds. That's so goddamn pretty. I love that. Anyways, back to actual story, shall we? Everyone had enjoyed different parts of it most. You traded stories of what you thought while you were eating dinner, then afterwards you pitched in to help clean up. You, along with Elizabeth and Cove, got to head back to the RV early and spend some time together while the parents stayed outside longer. It was nice to have the space to yourselves after the cramped journey there, and while Elizabeth had locked herself in the back room with her headphones, you and Cove were left in the main lounge area. Oh, absolutely hung out with Cove. Are you kidding? I'm not going to turn down an opportunity to hang out with my favorite ocean boy. We might as well get comfortable. Who knows how long they'll be out for. Like, look at him. He's such a sweet little bean. You took a seat on the sofa while Cove sat on the other end, tapping his fingers against his knees. Your cheeks warmed a little at that. Being close to him never failed to feel exciting. You'd seen Cove nearly every day for the past 5 years, but seeing him in a jacket was still somewhat unusual. In Southern California, he could get away with that. It was a simple difference from his normal style, yet you couldn't help noticing the way he looked right now. It looked great on him. In fact, Cove always looked nice. When Cove cleared his throat, your eyes snapped to his. He had an eyebrow raised and had clearly caught you staring at him. Oh no! At my character getting caught checking Cove out. Damn, be cool! Be chill! Is everything okay? Awkward! You know what? Fuck it, tell him it looks nice on him. I give 0 shits anymore. Cove immediately blushed at the unexpected compliment. What? He didn't say anything more than that one-worded question. You decided to elaborate further. You know, I hardly ever see you wearing a jacket, especially in summer. Oh, yeah. I like wearing as few layers as possible. It's easier that way. I'd rather be cold than extra hot, and it's kind of a pain to carry extra clothes around. My parents made me bring this jacket. I'm the same fucking way. I'm the same way. I'd rather be cold than sweaty. They're bulky and heavy, and they usually make me feel too warm. Cove smiled lightly at you and nodded. I've noticed. Not he's noticed! Hold the fucking phone! You perked up hearing that. He noticed you too. Do we change the subject, or do we ask him what he likes to see others wear? You know what? I'm feeling fucking bold right now. We're gonna ask him that. Why the fuck not? Hey, what kind of things do you think are nice to see on another person? Cove's eyes widened at the question, and his defensive reply seemed to slip out before he'd had the chance to have a proper think about it. Nothing. Yeah, that is kind of fucking funny, I'm not gonna lie. He laughed out loud, and Cove gave you a dry look. Come on, that's not what I meant. You composed yourself and sat up straighter, all traces of laughter disappearing from your face. Answer with what you do mean, then. Isn't there anything at all you think looks good when you see it on someone? Cove mumbled under his breath, and you couldn't quite catch the words. He was having a difficult time with the subject. Aw, Cove, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you an awkward little thing. I swear I won't make fun of you. That's not really it. Cove seemed pretty grumpy about your statement, but you weren't ready to give up so easily. Please? Cove sighed and looked down at his lap where he was fidgeting with his hands, still reluctant to give an answer. I don't know. You made an unimpressed sound over how this was going. Are you sure? Fine. I guess I kind of like ankle bracelets. Ankle bracelets? Yeah, everyone can wear a pretty bracelet. Wrist ones are cool too, but they're pretty normal. There's something fun or flirty about ankle bracelets. It's more special or something. I don't know how to explain it. Cove brushed his knuckles against his cheek awkwardly, seeming unsure where to go from here. Thanks for answering. You're welcome. When he said nothing else, you took a moment to gather your own thoughts. Now you have to get an Inklet on ASAP. Jesus Christ. Some of these options have no fucking chill. You know what? Think about buying one. That way it's nothing too set in stone. You'd seen some good ones in the shops in town. You'd try to remember to check it out more closely the next time you were there. Cove looked away again, feeling awkward about this. You gave him an understanding look, and usually he would start to smile like normal again. But not this time. His expression only stiffened more. Poor Cove. I didn't mean to make him this fucking, like, he's gonna combust. I didn't mean to make it this bad. You were surprised to see him like this, as he would always bounce back pretty quickly after being flustered. Cove? Still he wouldn't look at you, and now even his breathing was growing tense. It began to click. He was trying to build himself up enough to say something hard for him. You waited for it silently. Come on, Cove, you can do it! Say the thing you're thinking! Until finally, he peeked your way through the corner of his eyes. You were fully attentive by this point for whatever he was going to mention next. People having brown eyes, that's also something I like. Huh? For a moment you were stunned and at a complete loss for words. That was definitely not where you imagined this was going. Cove faced you head on, his expression full of desperate meaning. You got the distinct impression he hadn't chose that just because he liked the color brown. He chose it entirely because it was your eye color. Was he trying to flirt with you? That was all you could think. Your legs felt like jelly and you wondered if you might fall right off the couch. Stop, they're so cute. What do you like for another person, Blake? Gotta be the eyes. I'm such an eyes person in real life. For real. And if he's gonna go with our eye color, then don't we have to do the same thing back? I feel like we have to. Cove blushed a deeper shade of red and his mouth fell open, acknowledging that you had used the same line back on him. Stop, I love these two so fucking much I could burst. They're just so fucking sweet with their little baby flirting. It's adorable. Now you were both flirting with each other. He placed his hands in his lap and looked down. It seemed he hadn't expected to get this far and didn't know where to go from there. With that, the topic abruptly dropped off. Cove officially had no more to say on it. That is so fair. He did so good, though. Not their little baby flirts. I can't. They're so cute. The parents all arrived soon after, each of them climbing into the RV and finding some place to sit down and rest their legs. Elizabeth, having heard the commotion, came out from the room for the first time since arriving and joined you all. You spent the evening chatting and playing a few games, enjoying the last evening of the trip together. Bedtime arrived within the blink of an eye. As the group hunkered down for the night, your mom did a final round to be sure nothing had been left behind. She explained that Cliff was going to start driving early in the morning, like on the first day, but would be letting everyone else in the group sleep. There wouldn't be a need for all of them to get up. Now was the time to check you hadn't left anything outside. You, as well as everyone else, were confident you had it all packed up inside the RV, which meant it was time to get some rest before the journey home tomorrow. Your moms and Elizabeth said goodnight, heading to the back room while you climbed up to the loft. Cove and his family got situated below in the previously set arrangement. You tried to get comfortable as a million thoughts were running through your mind. It was hard to believe that the trip was practically over, and before you knew it, you'd be back in your own bed at home. definitely enjoyed the mini adventure. It was short, that was for sure, but you got to see and do so much during your time here. All in all, it was a nice break away from home. The minutes ticked by silently. It didn't take long for the soft snores of Cliff and Kyra to drift up to you. They were asleep now. You wondered if Cove was still awake and decided to poke your head out from the loft to find out. You blinked through the dark. Need more water? Looking down the hall, you noticed Cove laying on his back, his eyes staring straight up at the ceiling. His seafoam hair was spread out on his sleeping bag. He must have felt you watching him, because suddenly his eyes locked on yours. It was difficult to see much in the dim light, but you could make out the crooked smile on his face well enough. Definitely grinned back at him. Cove shrugged in his bed while still smiling, or at least you thought he did. Not you gestured for him to come over, okay. Cove looked unsure about it, but you were happy to see him slowly start to sit up anyway. His sleeping bag rustled as he moved, though he tried to go slow and froze up like a deer in headlights every time he made a sound, watching his parents for any sign of movement. Eventually, he managed to maneuver around his sleeping dad and make it to the ladder, standing on the bottom rung where he looked up at you and whispered. What? Not you invited him up to the loft. Oh, this could be real fucking cute, though. Yeah, invite him up to the loft. Fuck it. Do you want to come up? His eyes widened just so. You could only tell because he had come to where you were. Cove glanced behind him quickly at his sleeping parents before turning back to you. Okay. Ah, stop! They're so cute! You broke out into a grin and scooched back as far as you could, making space for Cove to crawl in. He was very tall, so it wasn't a great fit for him, but he managed to squeeze himself in. Luckily, you were short enough to leave him with some room. You laid down next to each other on your sides, face to face. He got under the blanket a bit. One of his arms was nestled under his head for comfort. The other had nowhere to go and was rested alongside his chest on the floor of the loft. Cove spoke to you softly. So what am I doing here? You sleep here instead of the floor. It'll be fine. Look at them, they're so sweet. Cove raised an eyebrow, not having expected you to bring the topic up again. You're still thinking about that? You don't have to worry about me that much, Blake, but thanks. It's okay. I'm not sure about this. Cove swallowed loudly, and you noticed he wouldn't look you in the eyes anymore. Felt comfortable being so close to him. Stop! It seemed natural to have him near you, and being close like this only made it better. You thought back to earlier in the evening when you and Cove had been talking alone on the sofa. He had definitely been flirting then, and now you were here. Not nudged closer to him. Stop! Cove is gonna lose his fucking mind. Fuck it. They're so cute. I'm doing it. You inched towards Cove slowly, your legs pressing together in the very limited space. Cove's face flushed dark enough to notice even in the almost pitch-black RV cabin. The hand resting in front of him tightened, balling into a fist. You okay? I'm fine. I mean, I'm not dying or anything. Cove's eyebrows bent up nervously, but his smile widened. He followed your lead and curled himself deeper into the loft and closer to you. He looked away as he did it. There was almost no space left between he and you. Cove's breath tickled the side of your face. For a moment, you stayed together like that. Neither of you spoke a word. When your eyes locked again, Cove seemed almost taken aback by the situation, as though it hadn't completely hit him what it was going to feel like to do this until just now. He opened his mouth to say something, but shut it tight before anything came out. Definitely the snuggle! Snuggle him, please. This boy just needs love. You closed the distance completely and nuzzled your face into his chest. You could hear his heart beating rapidly. Cove stiffened up and let out a yelp, which he quickly bit down on his lip to stifle. He gave you an apologetic look. This still wasn't bad for him, just surprising. After a few more moments, he settled in, his breaths deep and steady. He rested his chin against the top of your head. Stop, they're so cute! You could peek up and see him smiling, and it made you happier to know he was enjoying the moment too. The two of you fell asleep before long, cuddled up together. Stop, I love them. They're so cute. I can't handle it. I'm going to explode. They're so cute. I love them. I need water. They're just so sweet. Like, look at our little ocean boy. When you woke up the next morning, it was to the rumble of the RV as it traveled the long journey home. You noticed quickly that you weren't as warm as you had been during the night, and when you checked next to you, Cove was gone. Blinking sleepily, you peeked over the edge of the loft to find out where he had gone. Maybe he had snuck back to his spot on the floor during the night? However, you soon noticed him sitting on the couch talking quietly with his mom, his head hung in embarrassment. Oh no. Your movement gave you away, and Kyra suddenly looked up and caught your eye. She simply smiled amusedly at you, and it was obvious what happened. Cove hadn't gotten away with it. They found him there in the loft, and then you woke up while he was trying to explain. You knew it was going to be a long, long time before you lived this one down, if you ever did. Oh, poor Cove. In his defense, it was kind of all my fault. Like, I did that shit. He didn't get the idea on his own. Cove isn't slick enough for that, be so for real. It was all me. I'm the troublemaker. Soon, your moms and Elizabeth emerged from their room, dressed and ready for the day of travel. You spent most of the day hanging out together in the RV, savoring the last few hours of vacation. Kyra suggested a few different travel games she used to play with Cove when he was younger, and you all had a great time competing against each other. A little later in the day, you tried to talk to Cove about what happened in the loft, but he simply apologized and changed the subject. It was a bit too much for him to try speaking on, especially right now. You understood. When the RV finally pulled onto your street, it was well into the night, and you were looking forward to crawling into your own bed after the last few days away. Everyone else must have been feeling the same, because it was mutually agreed that unpacking and cleaning the RV would wait until morning. Once home again, you went straight up to your room and dropped onto your bed, shoes and all. Not that you miss being near Cove. Happy to be in your own bed. I definitely am that person after a trip. Like, it's just nice being home. You stretched out with a smile on your face, enjoying having the space all to yourself. With those last few thoughts drifting through your mind, it wasn't long before you dozed off to sleep. Tomorrow, life would go on like normal. Stop. They're so fucking cute. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. They're adorable. My whole heart just floods of the wholesomeness that is these two. I can't handle it. See, this is what I mean though, when I say that the moments are so long, is we did that one moment and we're already almost a third of the way through the stream. Isn't that wild? Some of them take like 20 minutes, and some of them are so long it takes like now 50 minutes, which is just very strange, very odd. I will be back though in just a minute. Sorry y'all, I gotta do something real quick. I will try not to take too long. Oh, well, okay. Back into it, shall we? So just a quick reminder, these moments are also Cove moments, I believe. And then these are Derek moments. Okay, let's hop into Mall, shall we? Lee's visit today turned out to be more involved than you expected. After overhearing where the Holden family was going, Lee insisted on seeing Mr. Holden's shop firsthand. An hour later, and Lee was busy looking at every item on display. Because Cove's dad offered supplies, lessons, and tours, his shop had all the scuba-related stuff you could imagine: fins, masks, suits, and snorkels. After circling around the shop, you finally stopped and looked at the whole room. I feel like maybe the middle ground. I don't think it'd be the first time. I don't know if I'd be here a shit ton though. So yeah, it wasn't often that you tagged along to hang out at the shop. You preferred it that way. It meant there was always something new to look at, even if it was just a layout change. You were in good spirits. This was a pleasant surprise. Visiting the shop made for a fun afternoon. Just the other day, Cove was telling you about the new wetsuits, and now you got to check them out. Lee was still busy poking through the various wetsuits displayed, so you decided to see what Derek and Cove were doing. They were too absorbed in their conversation to notice you standing near them, leaning against the counter. You were able to pick up the topic pretty quickly. Thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. Not my first time reading, I just struggle with reading out loud. I read smoother, in my brain. When I'm reading out loud, my brain gets all, spacey on me. So, oof. But yeah, no. Just your typical struggling to read out loud anxiety. Overthinking, pronouncing every word, that kind of thing. Fun stuff. My dad told me the new stuff is selling like crazy. Yeah, the material has this new blend with less neoprene. My dad says people are really interested in it. It brought a smile to your face hearing that the shop was doing well. Decide to keep listening. I don't think I'd have a lot to add to the conversation. It was interesting just to watch them speak about what they knew. But really, there's just so much to think about with a business. It's crazy. No matter how much I come, I still don't think I get it. Cove hummed and nodded in agreement, causing a good-humored laugh from Derek. I thought you only liked the scuba diving part, not the job part. Fair enough. Been on the train with this visual novel about 2 years, know pretty much everything you could know about it. Awesome. Okay, that's really fucking cool. I have had this since December last year, I believe. And I absolutely adore all 3 of the boys. Who is your favorite? Because I am 1000% Team Baxter. I love me a damaged dude. I don't know why. That's just the best part. I think about other things too. Cool. The business side, running it. That's my favorite. Out of the corner of your eye, you caught movement, and you realized that Lee was now standing next to you. When your dads retire, do you guys think you're gonna carry on the store? Both sons shrugged in unison. There's tons of things I could do. My dad thinks so too. He doesn't want me to plan on working here forever. Cove's gaze fell to the floor. You could see the conflict flashing across his face. I don't know. It's a lot being the real boss of something and totally in charge. I don't know if I can't say no to Cove. That's fair. I've already got people that want me to stream the wedding DLC, so that will probably be its own separate stream by the time we get there. But I'm jumping the gun a little bit. We're only on step 2. Let's see. I feel like I would say some cheesy shit, like no matter what you both do, shop or no shop, you'll be amazing. Derek smiled in equal parts happiness and bashfulness. He bounced on his feet a bit. My first time, I got a bunch of stuff to happen that apparently doesn't happen often to people. Okay. Cool beans, I love that for you. I was gonna say, we just finished up, the road trip moment, and I had my character get all snuggled and cozy in the loft with Cove, and it was the cutest goddamn thing ever. I love them so much I could fucking burst. Thanks, Blake. I'm happy you believe in us. Me too. Cove's parents left the back office and came over, catching your attention. Sorry, kids. It looks like it's gonna be a long one. I know usually others hold the fort down, but I really need to stay here today. I know you just wanted a little visit. It'd be boring getting stuck all day because of me. Kyra can take my car and go back to the neighborhood. Cove and Derek gave him an understanding look. Mr. Holden crossed his arms and flashed you all a big smile, trying to lift the mood. The one condition is that someone has to remember to come back for me later. You don't get to strand me here, no matter how funny that might be. Kyra laughed and gave a thumbs up. Mr. Holden seemed satisfied with that. He moved on with the explanation. Derek, your dad also has his hands full today, so he doesn't have time to run you back home. That's all right, sir. The title sir got an awkward chuckle out of Cliff, which was cut short when Kyra elbowed him teasingly. You already said I could borrow your car. Why don't I take all the kids somewhere fun for the afternoon? That's fine with me. Just please come back eventually. Sometime today, Kyra. After multiple jokes about being left with no ride, you had to wonder if that actually happened in their path together. For you, my good sir, I swear. Cross my heart. Happy with the promise, Cliff took out his black wallet and offered a $50 bill to Kyra. Here, in case you need gas or anything else while you're out. Kyra smiled knowingly and accepted the bill without hesitation. Thank you. Cove's dad stuck the wallet into his back pocket while he waved with the free hand. Okay, time for me to jump back into work. Have fun for me. Bye, Dad. Bye. Bye, sir. Bye, Mr. Holden. Goodbye, sirs, madams, and most respected guests. Okay, that's really fucking cute. He left the room with a wink and flare, disappearing into the employees-only area of the shop. When Mr. Holden was out of sight, Kyra silently strolled over to the counter and carefully placed the $50 bill there. She turned back around and beamed a large smile at you and the others. Come on, gang, let's see if this town has a mall. Yes. Unable to contain her excitement, Lee actually jumped with joy, while Cove and Derek just grinned. There wasn't a mall in your hometown, but Mr. Holden's store wasn't in Sunset Bird. It might be possible to find a mall out here. I feel like I would try and match everyone else's energy and be pumped. I need water. Reading makes my mouth dry. Okay, back to it we go. Heck yeah. Let's go. She quickly herded the group out of the store and into the car. As the driver, I get to choose my partner in crime. Naturally, I bestow the position of shotgun to my baby. Her comment had both Derek and Lee snickering. Cove was for sure embarrassed over the phrasing and blatant favoritism, but he took the seat by his mom without complaint. Jokingly complain at the special treatment, 1000% a me thing. Come on, there's gotta be a better way to choose than whoever your own kid is. That got a hearty laugh out of Kyra. Sorry, you'll get where I'm coming from when you start driving. You continued your teasing pout in the back. You'll understand when you're older was the worst excuse. I'll take the middle seat. Really? Yeah, I don't want a window seat. You two can have them. Are you cool with that? You thought it was odd that anyone would give up a window seat, but you knew Derek tried to be especially polite when he was a guest. You nodded. For real, not Derek being a little Mr. Manners. I love him. Good. Sounds like we're all in agreement. Everyone squeezed into the car, buckling up, and Kyra turned the radio on. She set it to a top 40s pop station. You know what? I can vibe with that for Kyra. I feel like Kyra's got such a good energy that I'd be chillin'. Quickly, you recognized the song playing. It was a new one by an artist you were listening to a lot recently. The Little Time Bit. It wasn't long until your group realized that they were lost, but after driving in enough circles, Kyra's struggle paid off when she found a local mall. There were more cheers from Lee as Kyra pulled into a parking spot. The art in this game is just so fucking good. Like, genuinely, just look at the fucking background. I love them. This game was just so fucking well made. I adore it. Once your group had made it inside, the first order of business on this trip was checking what this mall actually had. Where should we go? Ooh, I think I see a makeup store up ahead. She rolled up on her tiptoes to get a better view. Meanwhile, Derek was eyeing the directory. There's a chocolate shop. Seriously, we have to go there. Yes. Wait. And we need to find a decent jewelry shop. I need new hair ties and barrettes. We've also gotta at least look for a game store. There's tons of things you can't get anywhere but a store that's just for video games. Hey, what are you thinking, Cove? I want to look at the fish in the pet store. Of course, my dude, my ocean boy wants to look at the fish. You got it, Cove. We'll go look at the fish. You could have guessed that much, for real though. Anywhere else? He smiled with some bashfulness. Can we go to a camping and outdoor supplies shop? What about you, Blake? I wanna go an art and supplies store, bookstore, the food court, a bookstore, a video game store, and the pet store. And you know what? I'm with Derek on the chocolate shop too. Okay, that's all that really interested you. That's certainly a list. Good thing we have all afternoon. Yeah. I have my own stops I want to make. Let's agree to regroup here at 7 p.m. You're not coming with us? We're all in the same building. You won't be as alone as you think. I'll only be a few minutes away at most. You're old enough to enjoy the mall without me hovering. Okay, Kyra. Not Cove actually saying okay. Oof. Same brain. Be back here at 7 p.m. Toodaloo. Leaving Derek and Lee stunned by their newfound freedom, Kyra walked off. When she was almost out of sight, Derek's face twisted in confusion. Wow, she's really gone. I can't believe she just did that. This is so cool. We get to do whatever we want. Happy about it. Amazing opportunity. Let's go. It really is exciting. With the decision already made, Derek tried to pull together his earlier enthusiasm for the trip. So where are we going first? Time's a-wastin'. Whatever's closest. Things were coming together, but you realized there might be a flaw in today's sudden plans. What's wrong, Blake? Did everybody bring money with them? Yep, I did. I always have some on me when I come all the way out here. Yeah, I had money too. Of course, just checking. Water. Why does reading make me so thirsty? Okay. Immediately, you felt better about the situation. It would have been a downer to not be able to even think about something at the mall, 'cause they didn't have money. I'm good. Now that everything was squared away, you explored the mall together as a group. There were many shops that you managed to venture into so far. You all even went into an art and supplies store, leaving you with a pep in your step. This was better than you'd thought, and there was still so much to see. After having hit many of the top priority shops, the top priority stores, you found yourself passing by a small booth. It was decorated in wind chimes of various sizes. You raised a hand up to one of the smaller ones. What sparked your attention next was Cove. You thought for sure he was going to stop at the booth by the way. He looked at it, but he kept going. Do you want one? It wasn't until Lee asked that you realized you had stopped in front of the booth without saying anything. Lee just continued to encourage you. You should get one. You wanted one, but for someone else, 1,000%. They had caught your attention, though it was because it might make a nice gift. You wondered if Lee was planning on becoming a wind chimes salesperson since she kept pushing it. I have one like this at home, and it makes the prettiest sound. Fishing your money out, you made a decision on what to buy. Get one for yourself and for Cove. Stop. Get both. Get two. Can I get two? Can I get these two, please? Now why would you need 2 wind chimes? You rolled your eyes at her teasing tone, but you couldn't hide the smile growing on your own face as Lee broke out into laughter. The shopkeeper carefully wrapped your purchase up and handed it back to you in a bag. You accepted and then raced off with Lee to catch up to the boys. For Cove, you had picked out a beautiful wind chime that... Absolutely, the dolphin charm. If y'all aren't noticing, dolphins are kind of our theme in this game. You had a feeling he'd appreciate that. After leaving another clothing store, one that Lee couldn't resist exploring, you and your friends found yourself walking down the main hall of the mall again. It wasn't long until everyone you were with had their eye on the smoothie kiosk ahead. Should we stop? Yeah. As you approached, your eyes were drawn to the dizzying list of smoothie combinations. A part of you wondered how long it would take to try them all. Hi there, do you need a rundown of how this works? Yes, please. Okay, first off you pick up to 3 options of fruit or berries. Then I'll add the ice in the store's special smoothie base mix. And then you'll have your very own smoothie for $4. There's only one size. Cove leaned over the counter a bit. For several moments he intently studied the plentiful fruit and berry options. I want to get a strawberry banana smoothie with coconut too. Damn, solid option, Cove. Sounds good. Is anyone else getting something? Can I get one that's just all mango? Derek, buddy, I'm not a mango person, I'm sorry. Of course. I'd like strawberries, blueberries, and raspberries for mine, thanks. The shopkeeper looked at you now. Definitely want one. I'm not gonna be the only one that doesn't get one, don't be lame. Could I get, I'm gonna go strawberry, banana, and do I want kiwi or blueberry in this hypothetical? Let's go blueberry. And that's everything. At that, everyone went ahead and paid for their individual drinks. You waited over at the other side of the booth where the drinks were put when they were done. Derek bounced on his feet, excited for his to be ready. This is gonna be good. Lee chimed in with her own enthusiasm. Everybody says their smoothie-based stuff can make any drink great. Cove, while quieter, looked just as eager for his smoothie. Luckily, there hadn't been anyone else before you, so it wasn't a long wait. Your group collected the drinks as they were placed on the counter. Straws were placed through the opening at the top of the cup, and the first tentative sips were had. Derek sighed in satisfaction after his taste. Mango is too delicious. Yeah, see, for me, I think while I don't have any allergies, whenever I've tried mango, it's made my mouth feel all fuzzy. So I think if I were to have any allergies, mango would be the closest one. Cause shit just makes my mouth feel bad. Don't like it. Mine is super good too. Cove nodded and hummed in agreement. His straw was still in his mouth. Really happy with yours. Hell yeah. I know how to pick smoothie flavors. This is perfect. Cool. We all made excellent choices today. Yeah. Do I want to try anyone else's smoothie, or do I want to just leave it the fuck alone? Let's try some of Lee's. I think Lee did strawberries, blueberries, and raspberries, I think. Hey Lee, can I taste what you got? As long as you let me try yours too. Deal. You and Lee swapped cups and took several sips before swapping back. The berry blend tasted very strong. I like yours, but I'm really, really happy I got this. Thanks, Lee. I'm always here to help. You know what? I'm not gonna try Derek's, but I am gonna ask about Cove's, because that's fucking cute. Cove, could I have a drink of yours? At that, Cove accidentally inhaled as he was drinking. Oh no! His face was burning red from embarrassment and from the coughing that shook him. Dude, are you okay? Derek gave Cove a few pats on the back. His hacking was only starting to slow. I bet it ended up going the wrong way. It sucks when that happens. Lee elbowed you teasingly. The moment she got your attention, she started laughing and gesturing between you and Cove. Moments later, Cove was finally able to breathe normally. He wiped his mouth with his free hand. His gaze locked onto the floor as he nervously started chewing on his straw. You could tell he was torn. He didn't seem to want to say no, but he couldn't bring himself to say yes either. Derek couldn't watch the scene anymore. Drinking his own smoothie, he pretended to be fascinated by the displays in the stores your group was passing by. Lee hadn't stopped looking over you two. You could tell she was living for every bit of the situation. Cove's unhappy stare went from Lee to Derek, all while still shyly sipping his smoothie. You wondered if he was trying to will them to intervene. Feeling his stare, Derek peeked back towards Cove. The only response he offered was an understanding sigh. You decided to let it go. You know what? It's not that big of a deal. It'll be fine. Forget it. That's okay, Cove. I don't need to try yours. He stared at you, looking conflicted still. A few heartbeats later, the tension eased in his face. He sighed. Sorry. No worries. We're cool. Cove nodded, but he couldn't meet your eyes. You were satisfied with that. I'm not a mango person, so I don't want Derek's. As your group continued to wander the mall, you came to an area in the path that was wider. Ah! In the center of the opening was a collection of quarter-operated ride-on machines. Derek stopped as soon as he saw them, smiling ear to ear. I want to ride. I think we might be too big. No way, we're not that old yet. He eagerly headed over to the machines, wanting to get a better look. Lee went along with it, smiling. I don't think I'd care one way or another. I think I'd just be like, whatever. Specifically, given the fact that they're supposed to be 13, I don't think it would have been my thing at this point. Whether we're too big or not, it can't hurt to check it out. Reconvening around Derek, you watched as he was focused on the various brightly colored rides. Most were designed to look like real vehicles, but there were also some horse-shaped ones. One of them could even seat 2 people. Lee leaned in close to you and whispered playfully, while pointing directly at the sole machine made for a pair. You should ride that one with Cove. I think I'd definitely roll my eyes at that. Be so for real. Dude didn't even want to share his smoothie. Stop. Your response had Lee giggling. Trust me, it's a brilliant idea. I'm gonna be honest, Lee, it doesn't feel that brilliant. I'm gonna be so honest. I adore you, girl. You're adorable. Not your best one, though. I call the helicopter. Why? It's the coolest, and I think it'll move the most. He started digging in his pockets, pulling out whatever money he had. Wait, is everything okay? I need 4 quarters, right? Yeah? I only have 2. There has to be more between all of us. Hold on. Pockets, wallets, and purses were checked over. Derek still had 2. Cove only had 1. Lee ended up with the most at 3. You didn't have any. You can have mine. Thanks, but you don't have to. It's not enough for me. And even if it was, it'd be dumb to ride while you had to watch. Cove shrugged. He had tried, failed, and looked unsure of what to do next. Couldn't we exchange dollar bills for more quarters at a store? Derek slapped a hand to his cheek, eyes wide. Oh, yeah, that'll work. Let's do it. The group scattered to various shops around. When you shortly reconvened at the rides, everyone had more than enough quarters. Blake, are you going to join us on this little kid ride? Please? You sighed, admitting defeat. I'll do it. Yay! There were enough machines that everyone claimed one for themselves. Derek got his conveyed helicopter. Lee was happily on a horse. Cove waited to choose last. It seemed he didn't want to take a ride someone else wanted when he cared so little about it. You picked... The one that looked like a motorcycle's kinda cool. That was definitely the coolest ride around. Cove took one of the free single-seater cars once you had gotten set. Looks were exchanged across the way, and you each popped the coins in at the same time. The little ride stuttered to life. As the machines began to move up and down and side to side, Lee and Derek couldn't contain their laughter. Derek started waving from the window of the helicopter, and Lee reached out to see if she could touch anyone as their machines jolted close to hers. Cove, on the other hand, just gripped the side of the car. He was struggling to remain in the seat, looking very uncomfortable. Try to encourage Cove. I feel bad that dude's having such a bad time. It was terrible seeing how unhappy Cove was with this. You wondered if there was anything you could do to make him feel better. Don't worry, we all look ridiculous on these things. Cove's concentration was broken when he automatically looked in your direction. You thought you caught him rolling his eyes at your words. Are you worried you're gonna fall off? Cove shook his head, but you felt like you were going in the right direction. I know people always talk about how tall you are, but you're not a giant. Some people are 7 feet tall. Cove looked at you, clearly fighting a smile, but his hands were still gripping his ride like his life depended on it. Okay, if you do fall, I'll jump off this and make a bigger scene, I promise. That thought finally broke him into a laugh, and his smile remained for the rest of the ride. Hell yeah, hooray for cheering up Cove! Sip of water! Goodness. All this talking, I'm telling ya. Soon, all the rides came to a stop and the group dismounted. Derek looked absolutely pleased at the conclusion of this pit stop. Then you noticed something out of the corner of your eye. You tilted your head to look directly at it, and you burst into laughter. What's funny? You turned back to your group and nodded in the direction of where you were looking. Isn't that one of those machines that takes dollars and gives quarters back, the kind that exists for people who don't have quarters on hand? Everyone's heads moved that way and saw you were right. Derek chuckled awkwardly. That's exactly what that is. We're kinda dumb. We have to be to miss that this whole time. Come on, let's just put this behind us. There's still places open. We haven't been everywhere yet. Hear, hear. You moved along from one stop towards your next, still jovial from the experience. Shortly after your walk, Lee ran over to a nearby trash can and tossed her smoothie cup. Derek went after her and threw his cup away. You followed in suit and got rid of your empty cup too. Cove made it over to the trash can, but he didn't toss his cup. Hey Blake? Yeah? Cove held his cup out towards you and you looked at him quizzically. You can finish it if you want. It's a little melted, but it's still good. He couldn't quite meet your gaze. You were pretty sure that you could see his cheeks turning pink. Leaving Cove to his embarrassment, you noticed he left enough to have a good taste. There was no stopping the large smile growing on your face. He didn't forget about it. After your antics earlier, you had made peace with the fact you weren't going to get any of his drink. You figured it was easier for him to give it away since he didn't have any plans to drink more of it now. Thanks, Cove. He took his cup and held it with both hands. The last of his smoothie was very sweet. That seemed fitting. Pretty good, huh? Very good. You threw the cup out with the rest and sighed content. They're so cute. Stop it, I can't. The clock inched closer to 7 p.m. as you all made your way back to the directory. It was hard to believe how fast the day went by. Where do you think your mom ended up today? We didn't see her anywhere. I don't know. She's just like that. Ooh, it's a mystery. Despite having vanished for the entire trip so far, when 7 p.m. hit, you spotted Kyra coming right over, waving cheerily. As soon as she was close enough, she pinched Cove's cheek. "Hey, baby and friends." "Hi, Mom." He pushed her hand back with one hand and rubbed his cheek with the other. "Did you have a good day, gang?" "Yeah. Today was awesome. We did so much. It was fun." You really enjoyed your day. There was no hiding your joy. Like the others, you were smiling ear to ear because today went so much better than you expected. "I'm glad we came here. I want to hear all about it during the ride back." She clapped her hands together once, making sure she had everyone's undivided attention. "Speaking of that, we better head out. Cliff must be missing us, and you've got to be starving. It's dinner time and you haven't eaten yet." "Yeah." Everyone followed her lead and started walking out the door to the parking lot. Something about what Kyra said felt off to you. There were tons of places to eat. It's a mall. You could have had dinner. You wondered if it was just a good guess, but you could feel your eyebrows raise when it dawned on you. She might have been keeping an eye on you after all. You weren't pleased about that. She didn't have to lie. She could have been straight up. It would have been fine. None of you had a problem with her staying with you today. You were expecting it. You felt uncomfortable by her unnecessary deception. Shaking off those thoughts, you caught up with the others. Keeping the same seating arrangement as earlier, you all piled into the car and started heading back to the store. The drive went by without any problems as it was filled with chatter about the various things everyone saw around the mall. Soon enough, you'd arrived at your destination. It was a much faster trip considering this time Kyra knew where she was going. Hearing the light jingle of bells from the front door being opened, Cliff poked his head out from the back. He lit up at seeing who was here. "Aw, the little family." "Hey, Sport, did everyone have an adventure?" "Hi, Dad." "We had a blast." "Yes." "We found the mall." "The mall? I wish I could have joined." He deflated in an exaggerated way, his shoulders sloped. Kyra put a hand on his arm and smiled. "There'll be other times. Are you set here?" "Almost." Mr. Holden sighed for real. He then pulled himself together, standing up straight. "I just need a little more time to finish up. Will you be all right killing time for a bit longer?" "It's okay." "Yes, sir." "No problem, Mr. Holden. We can have fun here." "Excellent. What a great group of kids." He gave an approving thumbs up and Kyra nodded along. "I'll give you a hand. I remember the ropes." "Why, thank you." They walked side by side to the back room. Before he was out of sight, Cliff stopped and looked over his shoulder. "If you leave the shop, don't go far. It's getting late." And then the parents were gone again. Let's go to the docks. They're right down the way." "Yeah." "Oh, I saw those on the way here and really wanted to check it out. Are you coming, Blake?" "All right." With a smile, Cove showed the way. Between the warm summer air and the smell of the ocean, you couldn't ask for a better night. "Thanks for letting me come." "Me too." "Right? I'm happy we did this. Today was great." "Cove, your mom and dad are really cool." "Really?" "Totally." Cove looked at Lee oddly. He ran a hand through his hair, and then his puzzled expression cracked with a chuckle. "I guess sometimes they are." You continued walking. Every so often you would look up at the sky and see several stars poking out between the clouds. At one point you noticed that Cove stopped while Lee and Derek kept going on ahead, busily chatting. Initially, you wondered if something was wrong, but you quickly noticed that he still looked to be in good spirits. You decided to hang back with Cove. He gave you a quick acknowledging look when you stopped at his side. You could taste the sea salt as you took a deep breath of the ocean air. Silently, you and Cove watched the ocean for a little while. There was something about the waves that you always found soothing. You couldn't think of a better way to end a busy day. And then it hit you. The wind chime. This was the perfect moment. Quickly, you dug the wrapped package out of your bag. Hey, Cove? He barely replied. Instead, his focus was mostly on lazily watching the sea. The paper wrapping crinkled as you pushed the package forward, trying to make him realize. He finally caught sight of it, and his eyebrows raised up high. Gingerly, Cove accepted the gift. Just seeing the present brought a smile to Cove's face. He carefully opened it, and his whole body brightened as he recognized the chime. Oh my god. I feel like it was definitely that it made me think of him, I gotta say, because he's the ocean boy, and it was ocean related. It fucking belonged with him. What do you mean? I thought it suited you, so I got it. Really? Cove's smile seemed to grow even bigger, and his blush deepened. He looked sincerely happy. Look at this sweet ocean boy. How can you not love him? Cove is love, Cove is life. I can't. We must protect him forever. He wasn't even able to find the words to finish his thought. Then Cove started getting shy over his bashfulness and put a hand up over his mouth. You were so happy that buying the wind chime was the right call. I'll take such good care of it, Blake. Thank you. You're welcome. Let me know where you end up putting it. It'd be helpful to know. You took your wrapped up wind chime out of your bag and held it up, drawing a chuckle from him. Okay, we'll match that way. Yeah. Not much time later, Derek's chipper voice caught your attention. You and Cove both turned your gaze down the pier. What are you doing there, slowpokes? Get over here. Hey, come on. You looked at Cove the same time he looked at you. You grinned and nodded your head in the direction of your friends. He gave you a small smile in return. Your footsteps echoed against the wooden planks of the dock and into the night as you ran to catch up. That was so cute. Stop. I love them so much. They're just such little sweethearts. Okay, so theoretically, because we're a little over halfway through the stream, theoretically, depending on how long they are, we should be able to get through, we'll definitely get through birthday. Maybe we'll get through summer work, meaning that will leave us with escapade, soiree, and then the 4 other Derek moments. Which is not too shabby, if I do say so myself. Like, don't get me wrong, I know why Cove is everybody's favorite, being the ocean boy and soft boy that he is. And I love him. He's such a sweetie. I guess just for me, even though I played, I played this in order where I played through Cove's story first. Then I played through with Derek, and then I played through with Baxter. And I think Baxter just was, like, the most relatable to me. So, unfortunately, I think I would get, like, in a lot of trouble in the little fandom for saying this. But I think Cove moved down to the bottom of the 3 romantically for me. I think I love Baxter being a damaged dude, and that makes me want to, like, love him and fix him. And then I guess you could make a similar argument with Derek, but Derek also really has that, like, golden retriever energy everybody talks about. Like, if you see those videos on TikTok where girls record like their boyfriends or their husbands before they see them and then they light up. That's Derek. Derek is such a cheerleader in the sweetest possible fucking way. Cove, by the end of it, for me, ends up being more like a bestie for life situation than like a romantic person. But I will actually be back in just a minute. I'm sorry, y'all. I've got some stuff going on. But I will be back. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, let's hop into birthday, and then depending on where we're at stream wise, we might call it after that, just cause, ooh, I'm tired. Shit caught up to me so hard. But at least birthday first. was a pleasant afternoon. The sun shone brightly and the breeze tugged lightly at the balloons strung around the park. You and Cove had just been dropped off at Miranda Eckert's birthday party. You didn't really know Miranda. Last year was the first time you had a class with her, and everyone at school knew her as quiet. The shy girl stuck to her own friend group like glue. It had been a surprise that she was having such a big party. You looked around at the expansive park, a spacious recreation center in the next town over, and noticed a bouncy castle. Miranda had a bit of a reputation for not caring if she acted mature like other teens sometimes did. It made a certain amount of sense that her party would match that. I think she's sweet. Being quiet and, embracing your inner child doesn't make you weird or anything. Plus, I don't think my character would say anyone's weird given the fact that the whole thing we went through with moms. Yeah, thought she was sweet. You had always gotten the vibe that she was nice, and inviting you to her party proved it. You liked that she wasn't obsessed with proving she was grown up. Maybe hanging out today would be fun. You hadn't had a choice in coming here today. Your moms insisted on it after you got the invitation, as did Cove's mom and dad. So, both you and he were driven over to the next town with presents in tow. All the parents had been pretty firm about going to a birthday if you had been invited. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I agreed it was best to attend. Yeah, you get an invite, there's no good reason not to go. It was only polite to go to Miranda's party. Your moms were happy with your attitude as well. Cove made a small noise which caught your attention. He looked around, scanning the area. He fidgeted with his gift in hand. Any idea what we're supposed to do with these? You looked at your own present, and then towards the seating area. There was a table filled with snacks and drinks, supplies for various party games. Past all that, you spotted one table in the back that seemed to have a truckload of gifts. You pointed it out to Cove. Let's drop the presents off over there. Cove nodded with a smile and turned to where you gestured. He saw it too. Cool. You and Cove began to walk over to the present table, flattening the well-trimmed grass beneath your feet. You walked past groups of people, classmates in semicircles, broken up into the usual friend groups, chatted away. You, or maybe Cove, received the occasional greeting or friendly nod. However, as you passed by even more people that you had never seen before, you became aware there were more strangers here than not. It was more crowded than you expected. Miranda Eckert, the quiet girl, was hosting the most populated birthday party you'd been to in a long time. You looked at the new faces and thought you saw something of Miranda in them. Cousins, nieces, or nephews, maybe. Parties could be a big deal in her family. The both of you reached the table. You set your gift down in an empty space, brushing some of the confetti aside, and Cove placed his gently next to it. He looked at the present thoughtfully. Hey, what did you get her? Before you had a chance to answer, Cove opened his mouth again and tapped his gift. I found this sparkly backpack. I figured she could use it for school or a trip or something. Your moms had taken you out shopping the other day. You'd searched through the store and ultimately... I mean, if she's so okay with her inner child, maybe a stuffed animal? Light-hearted adventure book, yarn craft kit that made a toy. Yeah, we're gonna go with the stuffed animal, I think. I don't want to let the moms pick. Not that your moms didn't appreciate what you had picked and chose something else. Jesus. Yeah, let's go with the stuffed animal. The wide eyes of the otter plush had called to you. You weren't sure what in its face made you think of Miranda, but it seemed appropriate. Your moms had agreed that it was a fine present, and Ma helped you wrap it. You described it to Cove briefly, and he had no objections. Not a bad idea. He brushed his hands against the sides of his pants. I really hope Miranda likes her gifts, but I think we both did good. With that, he gave you a sunny grin. You touched the gift one more time and then stepped away. Without the direction of needing to put stuff away, the two of you weren't sure what to do next. You felt a little awkward, and Cove shrunk in on himself as he looked around. There were more guests heading to the present table, so you turned away and wandered over to a nearby tree where you wouldn't be in the way. From there, you both inspected the area and planned the next step. You were glad that Cove had been invited too. At least you had his company in this unfamiliar place. You watched him, and he gave you a nervous grin. It reassured you a little, and you smiled back. What next? Cove did not appreciate being put on the spot. He was just as unsure as you were. Birthday party stuff? It didn't seem to be time for cake, what with people still arriving. Nothing else seemed to be organizing yet either. He noticed that himself and tried again. We could find Miranda? That was an idea. It made sense to greet the birthday girl. Okay, we could say hello. Wish her happy birthday. Ask her what she wants people to do. Sounds good. With that point, it was decided. The Miranda hunt had begun. You wandered around. Anytime you saw someone with Miranda's hair color, you got a little closer, but more than once it turned out not to actually be her. Hey, look! Finally, he pointed over to the real Miranda. She smiled slightly when you both approached, but ducked her head. She seemed a little overwhelmed with being the center of attention today. Hi, Cove. Hi, Blake. Oh, she's so cute. Look at her in her little unicorn shirt. I love her. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Thanks. I'm really glad you could come. You all stood awkwardly. Miranda did seem genuinely happy, but there was still a distance between you. This is a great-looking party. Thank you. Is there something we need to do, or should we just hang out? Oh, well, you can talk to people if you want. There are games that are gonna start soon. She's so sweet. I just want to wrap her up in a hug. Oh my goodness. And the bounce house should open later, if you feel like jumping. Then after that, it's cake and present time. We'll have ice cream too. After that is when people will start going home. I hope that's okay with you guys. Cove nodded. He seemed a little more confident about the situation now. Thanks for letting us know. You grinned at her and she nodded back. Miranda waited there, and you became hyper-aware of the silence forming. You heard a shout for Randy, and Miranda brightened up, a total 180 with how stiff she had been with you. Ah, I gotta talk to some more people. Bye! The birthday girl ran off to her friend, leaving you and Cove with at least a little more of an idea of what to expect. You both glanced at each other wordlessly. All that was left now was finding something to fill time until the activities began. Just talk with Cove. I don't know. Why would we do anything else? We're two peas in a pod. We're basically attached at the hip. Might as well chat with Cove. My ocean boy. You started talking about how you felt about this kind of birthday party and what you wanted to do for your next party. Cove made the occasional suggestion. The conversation became silly as you started joking about ridiculous party ideas. Cove wanted a moon party, and you wondered if anyone ever had tried to make a cake big enough to be the party location. Suddenly, a loud voice boomed over the crowd. The constant buzz of conversation dropped as one of the adults, maybe Miranda's dad, asked the kids to gather around because it was game time. I wonder what's gonna happen. Made a joke about something that wasn't going to happen? Yes. We're gonna play high-stakes poker. It's obvious. Obvious, huh? Look at this crowd. Most of the guests were teenagers around your age, but there were also quite a few adults and some younger kids. Cove nodded sagely at a group of little kids. Yeah, these are high rollers. Just like you and the rest of your family. He smirked at that one. The adult announced that the children under 10 had the first turn on the bouncy house. For everyone else, it was time to play pin the tail on the donkey. Cove raised his eyebrows. He was surprised for sure. You were fine with the game. Might not be my favorite, but that's chill. You didn't have anything against pin the tail on the donkey. It would probably turn out okay. You casually stepped up to join the line. The donkey in question was a cartoony poster with big eyes that looked more like ping pong balls. It was positioned a few feet above the ground on a tree trunk. The teen who arrived first was blindfolded, then spun around. He was nudged to the sign and away from the other kids so he wouldn't stick someone with the tail instead. Unfortunately for him, he placed the tail on the donkey's head like some kind of bizarre earring. He wouldn't be winning that far from the target. His next opponent did far better by landing it on the donkey's back. The spectators clapped politely and the line moved up. More teens tried their hand at it. Some got closer than others, but no one had gotten it perfect yet. Soon, it was Cove's turn. He was blindfolded and spun just like the others. At this point, it was a close match and everyone was watching with bated breath. Cove approached the donkey and stuck the tail on without any hesitation. Cove stood back and removed his blindfold, cheering when he saw how close he was. He turned his head over his shoulder and grinned at you. Y'all, give me 1 second. Hold on just a moment. I'm so sorry. I'm back. Also, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Let's get back into the game, shall we? Yeah, we read this. Okay, good. Your turn. Took your turn. Don't step out of line. With the blindfold on, the bright park became utterly dark. You were spun around, the sounds around you seemed to get louder. At least you could tell the direction of the bounce house from the shrieks of the younger children. You stopped spinning and stepped forward, tail in hand. It was time to give it a stab. To the right, bent and placed it downward. Well, I'm short, so it's probably not. Place it to the right. You pressed the tail into the target and stepped back. You took your blindfold off to check your results. There was some more clapping from the audience. The tail wasn't too far off. Behind you, there was a particularly enthusiastic "oh," and a few people mentioned how close you got. You smiled and looked back at Cove. He seemed amused. His tail wasn't off by much either, and you couldn't tell which of you was winning. They were just too nearby each other. A few more kids took their turn. One girl managed to somehow pin the tail on the opposite side of the tree. You were pretty sure it had to be on purpose. With the line empty, the game was finally over. The adults running things started to inspect the donkey. At this point, the sign was more tails than donkey. In the end, Cove was announced the winner with lots of smiles and applause. He grinned and seemed pretty proud of himself. He was handed a fistful of candy from the man in charge. Cove needed both of his hands to accept it all. Thanks! He tucked the candy into his pockets. It filled more than one. Hell yeah, I use those little emotes. At some point I want to buy, I found, Alistair emotes from Hazbin Hotel, and I want to get those at some point. Definitely congratulated Cove. You did really good. Thanks. I feel kind of sorry for the donkey, though. You both looked at the multi-tailed monstrosity and winced as you pictured how that would be on a real-life creature. No, we don't need to ask. You didn't ask. It was his and you didn't need any. There would be other treats later. An older teen walked up, tall enough to tower over you and Cove. You felt a little intimidated by the stern-faced teenager until she started to speak. Her voice was low but friendlier than her tough frown would suggest. Hi, I'm handing out party favors. Do you want one? She showed you party hats. She insisted they were key to a true partying mood. She had two options, either a colorful headband with two tiny party hats arranged almost like ears, or a tiara with a star on it. They were both very festive. No thanks. You knew the teen hadn't actually glared at him. Her default facial expression just seemed grim. I did unmute myself, right? Yes, I did. Jesus, ignore me. You know what? Sure, I'll take one of the headbands. Why the fuck not? Be fun. Be festive. Give me the blue. The teenager handed you the hat with a surprising amount of gusto, given her expression never changed. She gave you a serious thumbs up for taking it. Encourage Cove to pick one. Have fun. It's a party. Be silly goofy. You held a pink headband hat in one hand and a crown in the other. You tried to imagine what they'd look like on Cove. You really should try it. It'd be great. Cove looked back at the hats and then at you. With a sigh, he grabbed hold of one. The teen with the hats clapped as much as she could with all the hats in her hands. The unknown teenager nodded approvingly at you both and went to pass out hats to more people. You put the party hat on your head with a smile, and it fit well. It was surprisingly comfortable. It really completes your look. When did you get so fashionable? He smirked and you just adjusted your new accessory. I'm a party animal now, 1000%. Really? Of course. Cove nodded with a thoughtful look on his face. If the party spirit is contained in party hats, does that mean they're haunted? You snorted at the suggestion. You considered the hat on your head. It didn't seem haunted, but maybe that was what it wanted you to think. Aw, look at him being all sweet and shit. Cove finally put his own hat on. He was nervous about it, his face uncertain. I don't know about this. I feel kind of silly. Does it look weird? You look great, Cove. Relax. Oh, thanks. He readjusted his hat bashfully. After that, the people in charge quickly set up the next game. Teenagers milled about until they were told to find partners. You tried to listen to the rules, straining your ears to listen to the adult announcing what you were supposed to do. It was a simple game. One person in a pair would throw candy while the other had to catch it in their mouth. If they caught it, the pair would move on to the next round, where they would take a step back and the former catcher would become the thrower. The game would continue, the players getting further and further, until one set of partners were the only ones left standing, or everyone lost in a round. About half of the guests had already found partners. They moved fast. You noticed Cove had his eyes on you. Could we be partners? Neither of you were all that familiar with anyone else here. It'd be the safe choice to pair up. Absolutely. Not that I don't want to play bullshit. Get that out of here. Absolutely. Let's do it, partner. Cool. He beamed and you started wondering about your respective candy-catching capabilities. Two rows of players facing each other formed. Cove tilted his head towards them and you started to head over. You both lined up directly in front of each other. It took a while to pass out the candy. You were handed a small bag of gummies that smelled strongly fruity. Hell yeah, for fruity! You noticed Cove took it upon himself to do a taste test of a red one across from you. They're not bad. Try one for yourself, why not? You ended up grabbing a purple gummy. It was sweet and you guessed it was supposed to be grape flavored, but it was mostly just really sugary. And then it was time to begin. Cove's row was set to throw first. He smiled nervously, his eyes wide with seriousness. You grinned and Cove's smile looked more genuine and less filled with tenseness. The game was on. The adult in charge shouted for the throwers to go. You and Cove were only a couple feet away from each other. With Cove's careful toss, you caught the candy easily. Like you, most of the other players moved on to the next round. There were a few gaps in the rows as everyone took a step back. The round was harder with pairs further apart, but not overly so. It could be done if both parties tried. You did your best as you tossed it. You carefully plucked a gummy from the bag and felt the weight. You shifted it in your hand a couple times for practice and then told Cove you were ready. You went for an underarm throw, careful to aim for Cove's mouth. The blue candy arched and landed perfectly in Cove's mouth. He chewed it twice, then smiled widely. You could tell Cove was genuinely pleased to make it through another round. You were happy as well. The next round began and you took another step back. Cove was even further away now, but he made an okay sign. He was in this to win it. Around you, the once packed rows of players had thinned out some. You wondered how many rounds everyone had left in them. Cove swung his arm and made eye contact with you. You nodded and the green candy flew towards you. Definitely tried best to catch it. If Cove's in it to win it, so the fuck am I, buddies. You followed the arc of the candy and opened your mouth wide. It had a slight spin on it, and you tilted your head to the left to compensate. You bit down on the candy, grinning with your victorious catch. It tasted sweet and vaguely like a Slurpee. Yeah, Blake! Cove was thrilled. He was entirely invested in the game at this point. You and Cove were still in the game. You knew this was the final round. Only a few other pairs were still left. Cove was determined to win. You could see it in the clench of his jaw and the careful way he watched you. You equally wanted to win. Let's go. You made it this far. It was time to go all the way. You looked around at your remaining competitors and prepared yourself. Cove gave you a firm grin as you prepared to throw. Your fingers grabbed an orange gummy from the bag. It felt solid in your grasp, even if your hand was starting to get sticky from touching all the sugary sweets. Cove leaned his face towards you and bent his knees, ready to catch. The time came. You looked at the candy and then Cove. I don't understand what jackass would mess up their throw on purpose. For real. Tried your best. Let's go. Cove followed the candy with his eyes. Your throw unfortunately spun to the side. It looked like a loss was on the horizon. But he made a move for it, and it was good. He snatched the candy out of the air with the corner of his mouth. A wide grin spread on his face as Cove victoriously chomped down on the candy. Yes! Along with the cheer, he jumped up in excitement and pumped one arm. You looked to your left and then to your right. You see the few remaining pairs walking away, commiserating over their losses. With some shock, you realized that you and Cove were the only ones who made it that round. You won. You watched the moment Cove clicked into the same realization. His face brightened like sunshine, and he jogged over to close the distance between you. You stepped closer to meet him halfway. Jumped into a hug. Let's go. His eyes went big when he realized you were going for a hug. He smiled and caught you, hugging you back tightly. You'd won this together. He giddily stomped his feet in place in front of you as though he couldn't contain his energy. We did it! You adjusted the hat that had nearly fallen off throughout the event. Nice catch! Nice throw! I love them, they're so sweet. The game runner strolled over and merrily gave you both a bunch more candy on top of letting you keep the gummy bags. It was quite the collection. Cove laughed over just how much candy you both had acquired. Between this game and the pin the tail on the donkey, you were swimming in sugar now. With the candy toss over, you were going to need something else to do. You didn't have to wait long. You heard someone in the crowd shout that the bounce house was officially open for the older kids. You and Cove shared a look. Cove smiled and you knew he wanted in. You both ran over to the bouncy castle and kicked your shoes off. You crawled into the inflated castle with Cove hot on your heels. There were a couple other teens inside already. Need more water. You started to get a feel for bouncing. Cove hopped from the middle to the side and back. Just after you landed from a particularly high jump, someone else snuck in. It was the birthday girl herself. Hi, Miranda. Hello. Miranda looked happy. She waved both her hands at you with a megawatt grin. I hope you're having fun. She hopped around with her hands in front of her like a kangaroo. It was a surprisingly effective way to clear distance in the bounce house. She then jumped high, kicking both her legs out to the side and touched the tips of her toes with her fingers. Wow! Miranda hadn't run out of tricks yet. She jumped a couple more times, gaining height before doing a backflip and tucking into a ball. She managed to land on her feet, but didn't stick the landing. She tumbled back and fell on her butt. Oh no! Cove clapped and Miranda inclined her head almost like a bow. She was back to jumping in no time. You're so good at this. She bounced close enough to the two of you to talking without shouting across the way. Cove's bouncing slowed down to accommodate their conversation. My family gets these every year, and we have a trampoline in the backyard. You're so lucky. Miranda giggled a bit, and then her eyes sparkled. Hey, I can launch someone if you want. If I jump in front of you, then your bounce will go higher. Okay, launch me! Launch me! I want to go! Sure. Miranda leaped over to you, her excitement clear on her face. Cove watched with interest. She explained more clearly how this was supposed to work. You got ready to bounce on her cue. 3, 2, 1. The moment she came down, you jumped high. The force of her, just as she had said, helped to launch you up. The air rushed past your face, and then you were coming back down. Your feet hit the bounce house hard enough to help launch Miranda up a little as well. She giggled some more, and the two of you took turns bouncing each other up. Cove clapped or offered suggestions, but it was becoming clear that he wanted a turn too. Miranda invited him to join and tried to synchronize your bounces to launch Cove up super high. The first time resulted into everyone crashing down into a pile of laughs. By the fifth attempt, Cove managed to catch some serious airtime. Woo! You all had fun bouncing around. You twirled, Miranda did stunts. Cove futilely tried to touch the highest tip of the castle ceiling. You and Cove chatted to Miranda more than you ever had at school. She truly was the queen of this bouncy castle. Whenever someone did something cool, everyone would cheer. If you fell, the others would help you up. Eventually, more people wanted to take turns in the bounce house, so you and Cove left. As you slipped on your shoes, you saw Miranda get drawn into a conversation with a group of adults. She would be talking to them for a while. You and Cove decided to take a break and hydrate. You went to the party table and grabbed some ice water. Cove handed you a party noisemaker he'd picked up from the same table. He blew on his and it made a funny sound when it unrolled. Cove downed his drink in a couple gulps. He had gotten pretty into bouncing after all. You were still sipping on your water when Cove blew his noisemaker again, then again, and again. It was almost a tune. You don't recognize any particular melody, but a noisemaker also isn't an instrument. The noise cut through the hum of the other party guests, loud and noticeable. Blew your noisemaker back at Cove. You blew hard enough to unfurl the paper completely straight. It jutted towards Cove, almost tapping his chin. Cove wasn't going to let that stand. He retaliated and blew his back at you. It nearly touched your nose. It was a game now. Both of you tried to land a light hit on the other. Cove managed to get your chin while you scored right in between his eyes. Oh, great. You people again. Oh no. Oh no. Someone vaguely familiar shouted, and you snapped your head to the side. Cove's noisemaker dropped from his mouth. The speaker stepped up, and there was no doubt. It was Jeremy, the boy you met at the start of summer. You groaned at the sight of him. It might have been rude, but you did not want to deal with Jeremy right now, or any time, really. Why are you here? Cove's tone was defensive. You watched Jeremy's face turn slack as if Cove's question was the idiocy above all idiocies. Didn't I already explain this? He hadn't, so both you and Cove exchanged a look. Do you have memory loss, or are you really that stupid? Seriously. I didn't walk here. My parents brought me. Apparently, I couldn't just stay inside like I wanted. No, they insisted that I get out and enjoy the day and have fun on vacation, blah blah blah. He said enjoy the day and have fun on vacation, like some people would say scrub the entire bathroom or listen to an off-key singer for 10 hours. They found a park 'cause I hate the beach. Too bad I also hate parks. Ugh, it's dirty here. They don't know anything. I'm so over your stank attitude. Oh, and then they saw this stupid party and decided to bother some adults by asking what was going on. They think maybe we could be included. It's moronic. Get it now? That's how my parents are. Annoying and embarrassing. Why would anybody want strangers at their birthday? Why can't they ever just leave things alone? He huffed loudly, and his eyes shot daggers at some grown-ups that presumably were his parents. Jesus. For real, and all you can do is complain about it. Sucks to be you. Imagine being so negative about everything. Shut up. Jeremy's eyes slipped away from you to take in the rest of the park for a bit. It was a little awkward. It was possible he didn't know what to do, but then he spoke again. How can people really go around in those embarrassing party hats? Do they think it's fun or something? How could a human being be so dumb? It's just kind of nice to do party stuff. Jeremy scoffed, unimpressed. The expression on his face was nasty as he spoke. I'm not surprised an empty-headed person like you would think that. Jesus Christ, can you stop being an ass for like 5 minutes? Jeremy looked over at you, completely dismissive. It's so rude you can't help but feel offended. Cove's face hardened. He seemed more offended than when anyone actually insulted him personally. Just because you don't know how to be happy doesn't mean no one else does, and it's not our fault if you hate everything. It's not okay for you to take it out on Blake. Not Cove being protective, okay. They aren't doing anything wrong, you are. Jeremy seemed unfazed by Cove's defense and sniffed. Blake can humiliate themselves on their own. They don't need you to step in and do it for them. I wish. Not pouring your drink on him. Jesus. Drown out his words with your noisemaker. You're both doot. You're doot. It didn't take long for him to piece together that you weren't gonna let him speak without interruption. How stupid. He shut his mouth though and finally stopped talking. Not your damn. Said nothing. He's not even worth a goddamn fucking response, honestly. People were starting to watch what was going down. Your argument wasn't exactly quiet at this point. Genuinely, why is Dude forever in a bad mood? Is it because of his hair? Is it because he doesn't like the clothes? Like, I don't understand what his problem is. I don't know what his beef is, like, for real. Whatever. Why don't you just leave us alone if we're so awful? Jeremy glared even more and huffed. Talking to you is pointless. Dumbasses. Jesus Christ, dude. He stalked off like the last time you saw him, muttering under his breath. You blew your noisemaker after him with a final long doot. Cove sighed in relief after Jeremy was gone. He relaxed, but only for a moment. He noticed just how much attention you'd drawn from the other guests. Luckily, it hadn't gone on long enough to get a real crowd. A concerned adult in a blue button-up shirt approached you and asked who that was and if everyone was all right. I'm fine. Cove looked at you cautiously, asking just as much as the adult if you were okay. Everything's fine now. You don't have to worry about us. The concerned adult lingered for a few seconds, but nodded and left you alone. The Jeremy fiasco was officially over. Cove rubbed his eyes, clearly ready to put all that nonsense behind him. Then he started laughing. It was a surprised laugh, breaking out of his chest without any actual joy. It was nervous and disbelieving, and all the complex emotions brought about by one meeting with Jeremy. I can't believe it. He spoke in fits and starts. The look on his face after he started with it was hilarious. How can Jeremy be like that? He shouted at us, he barely knows us. And it was at a birthday party for somebody he's never met. I'm just happy that he's gone. For real. Who cares why he is the way he is? He's not here anymore. We're fucking free. Hopefully he stays away. Cove seemed to think about his next words carefully before he spoke. I don't think it matters what we do around him. Jeremy's just gonna yell no matter what. We shouldn't worry about it. Do you want to tell your moms about Jeremy? I mean, he always picks fights. Maybe they'll know how to handle someone like him. Thanks for asking. You know what? We'll bring it up to moms later. I'll let them know everything. Okay. Apologize to Cove for making him wear the party hat. Aw. I'm sorry, Cove. It's my fault you were wearing the hat in the first place. Cove shook his head. If anything, he seemed surprised at your apology. I don't mind that you did. It's been fun. This whole day's been fun, except for Jeremy, and now he's gone. And he's gone now. He reached up and flicked his hat with pride, giving you a small grin. It made you happy. Finally, you bent over to pick up the noisemaker that Cove dropped when Jeremy appeared. It might be too dirty to use now, but you didn't want to leave it there. He accepted it softly when you offered the little favor back to him. Thanks, Blake. I like how we can be there for each other. It makes me feel better about that kind of stuff when it happens. Yeah. Cove suggested you should find a seat at one of the tables. It was almost cake time and he wanted to be prepared. It was a good reminder that the party wasn't over yet. There's a free table here. Let's get ready for some cake. You and Cove tried to settle down after the last event. You took seats across from one another at one of the park tables. There were a few attempts to chat, but for the most part you simply watched the adults run around to set up the cake cutting. There was a minor panic when who you assumed was Miranda's dad apparently forgot the lighter for the candles. He and another man went through and started asking the other adults for matches or lighters. They weren't having any luck until a grim-faced teenager who had been passing out party hats pulled a green lighter out of the ice cream cooler. Why the lighter was put in the cooler remained a mystery, but the party hat girls find it was time to get things going again. Jesus, no brain. Miranda sat at the head of the longest table. A large chocolate cake was set in front of her. She lit all 14 candles with the cooler lighter with a big smile. The adults started singing happy birthday and the rest of the guests joined in. At the end of the song, Miranda blew out the candles with a dedicated huff. She closed her eyes and you saw her silently mouth something. Maybe it was a birthday wish. Miranda cut her own slice, then one of the grown-ups took over cutting the cake. Another adult passed around plates of cake slices with a scoop of vanilla ice cream to the guests. Eventually, the cake got around to you and Cove. Cove was pleased with the treat in general. The cake looked rich and moist. It smelled quite chocolatey. Definitely both cake and ice cream. You took a bite of the ice cream. The vanilla wasn't bad, but it was a little bland. The chocolate cake, however, was rich in flavor. Cove then took his fork and started mashing up some of his cake. When the cake resembled a pile of crummy chunks, he started mixing it into the ice cream. The melted parts of the ice cream made a kind of chocolate cake soup. You raised your eyebrow. You were puzzled at what he was doing. Cove paid no mind. Vanilla ice cream is not good by itself, and I'm gonna eat it with the cake either way, so why not put them together now? Things like ice cream cakes exist. Putting stuff together is normal. Cove contentedly chowed down on his concoction. One advantage to his mix is that the ice cream seemed to catch most of the crumbs that would usually fall from eating a cake. Unlike some of the kids around him, Cove's shirt remained clean. You started eating your dessert in earnest. You enjoyed yourself plenty. Cove suddenly put his fork down on his plate and stared up to the sky with a faraway expression. You checked but didn't see anything attention-grabbing. This ice cream is better than those ones in cups, you know, with the little wooden spoons, but I still kind of want that instead. You remembered what kind he was talking about. Oh yeah, like the ones handed out at the barbecue before the fireworks happened. Right. Cove smiled nostalgically at the thought. You could picture a younger Cove for a moment with the same look in his eyes. Offer him a bite of your dessert. 1,000%, they're so cute. Do you want any of mine? Cove raised his eyebrows for half a second before the realization came. Laughter burst out of him. Yeah, I remember that part too. You told him you're serious. Really, Cove, let's share. He rubbed his neck, leaning back in his seat. He was taken aback and even more bashful. Well, I already have some on my plate, so it's different. We were kids, and yeah, sorry. Not the don't want to get my cooties, huh? Not different. You know what? Different how? In what way? I want to watch him try and explain himself. Blake. He spoke with a terser tone. You were testing him. Cove gulped as he looked at you, and then your respective dessert plates. He took a quick breath and grabbed your fork. Without letting himself hesitate, he took a bite. You smiled. Thanks, Cove. Miranda then started to open her gifts. She systematically attacked the mountain of presents like a pro. She checked for any cards and read them loudly before opening the gift. She smiled at every present, including the ones you and Cove got her. You were glad the presents were accepted. It took time, but eventually Miranda got through all the gifts. She was very sweet and polite throughout it all. The party went until the sun began to set. By that point, most of everything had settled down and people had begun to leave. Any of the guests whose parents had stayed for the party were already gone, except for Miranda's family. Only a few kids still waiting for their parents to come get them remained, you and Cove included. Miranda's family were cleaning up, and as a guest, neither you nor Cove were supposed to help with that. Instead, you both had decided to take it easy in the bouncy castle. It was somewhere out of the way where you could casually wait for your ride. Miranda had also elected to hang out with you. You weren't even bouncing anymore. Cove laid on his side with his back to a wall, and Miranda sat across from him with her legs stretched out. You also made yourself comfortable. It was nice and warm in the little building. It also felt like you had some privacy, which was nice. You could all speak openly here. Thanks for coming. She looked down but continued shyly. It's been really cool to get to hang out with you a little bit. Thanks for letting me come. I didn't think I'd be invited. Thanks from me too. Miranda just smiled a little more. So, did you notice anything happening earlier with some people you don't know showing up? She had to think about his question a little. It was apparent that she didn't have an encounter with Jeremy, since there was no instant recognition. I heard about something. Some other parents were talking to my parents when their kid came and forced them to leave the park. She tilted her head to the side, finding it weird but also not important. Then everyone had cake and ice cream. Cove smiled uncomfortably. That's good. He was clearly worried that the Jeremy confrontation could have gotten to her. Luckily, it didn't seem that anyone had overheard or passed along Jeremy's cruel words. Cove rolled over on his back and sighed contentedly. Miranda seemed confused, but wasn't going to push. Change the subject. Yeah, the birthday girl doesn't have to worry about that bullshit. It's over. What are you gonna do with all those gifts? It had been a mountain of stuff. Miranda laughed. I don't know. I'm gonna have to find a way to get them all in my room. Cove gave a bent smile and made a suggestion. You can carry some in that backpack you got. She giggled and clapped her hands with delight. That's true. You all continued chatting in a laid-back manner until it was time to go home. At the end of the day, you thought it had been quite the party. Okay. Y'all, we are going to call it right here, so we're gonna save real fucking fast. Meaning that when we play tomorrow, we have 3 more Cove moments, and then I believe the soiree is the same on both, so that'll go away. So we will have 3 Cove moments and 4 Derek moments. I'm looking forward to it. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. I do appreciate you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. I'll see y'all over on TikTok tomorrow if that's something you're into. Otherwise, I'll see y'all on Twitch again. But as always, take care of yourselves. Be kind to yourselves. It's hard being a person. You're doing the best you can. I am proud of you. And don't forget to live a life that pisses off a bigot. Bye, y'all.